And although he still lacks a lot of experience and imagination for that, he congratulates him because at least he has a bit of that. As they pass near Milla, he compliments him, emphasizing that he's very strong, but the humble Suo brushes it off. At the same time, Nairai interrupts, asking if he used Kung Fu or Aikido, but Suo mentions that he's not sure because his master learned different martial arts on his own, so his way of fighting would be a mix of various things. Ruta notices that Suo has a master, and just then, Gar joins the conversation because he was very surprised that he let himself be carried away by emotions. Then, our patch-wearing boy mentions that it doesn't usually happen, blaming Sakura for it and pointing out that he infected him. However, our protagonist doesn't stay silent and politely asks him not to blame because if they were to fight someday, he asks him to do it seriously. Even the blonde makes him feel bad, emphasizing that Sakura doesn't know how to say anything else because he's always thinking about fighting. Upon hearing this, Suo mentions that for sure the guy is a nuisance, and he wouldn't want to fight him at all. Obviously, hearing this, our guys stand up, and since it's the second time he insults him, he tells him, "Here's your nuisance," but obviously, Nairai is there to calm down our friend. However, Milla sees that they are influencing each other well. Meanwhile, Suo continues to say that he's a delicate guy, and that's when Sakura can't hold back the desire to hit him. However, Nairai continues to intervene, but then they hear the sound of someone dragging a body because it's the chitter guy who just lost and is moving his companion to a better place. So our windbreak boys kindly move aside to not obstruct the passage, and the guy reaches a corner where he tells his friend that they were both defeated. Meanwhile, the leader of the Shishidoran wants to fight the patch guy now, but his bespectacled companion doesn't allow it and calls out the next ones who are going to fight. But before our protagonist has stood up, the long-haired blonde from the Chichidaran had already done so, so he gets the turn, and as we know, he will face Iguri, who also stands up and apologizes to our protagonist because he will fight before him, and as he's in his ferocious dog mode, Nairai tries to calm him down, seeing that Nairai isn't succeeding. Iguri emphasizes that his opponent doesn't seem ready to go up yet, and well, he also acknowledges that he should face him, so Sakura thinks that Iguri doesn't have faith in him. However, he points out that he didn't say that and rather leaves it to our guide because he trusts him. Upon hearing this, our Tsundere friend tells him that he doesn't need to say that because he's sure he would win anyway, is asking himself who is that long-haired blonde with slanted eyes. Well, the blonde is also curious because, by his gaze towards Iguri, they may have a shared history. To this, Suo adds that he also got that feeling. Then, Milla adds that it shouldn't be so strange for Iguri to know someone outside of the Furin. On the Shishidoran side, Togame addresses Iguri's opponent, named Saw, saying that he didn't expect him to volunteer for a duel, so, with a sneering look, he also asks if he knows Iguri from somewhere else, but the long-haired blonde ignores him and goes up to the stage to fight his opponent. The leader only mentions that you never know what that guy is thinking, but the leader is very, very happy because they will be able to see him fight against one of the four kings of the Furin, who, addressing Saw, emphasizes that he's much taller now. Besides, he joined the Shishitori, although it took him by surprise. What's done is done, and he emphasizes that the winner of this fight will be him, but the meddling Choji tells them that they will talk later, and it's better to start the fight, so Saw gets closer to hit and kick him. But although his attacks are powerful, he's repelled by Iguri and even receives a high kick with a twist. Recalling what he said earlier, Iguri feels underestimated and opts for a fighting pose, mentioning that the boy he knew before no longer exists, and he will show it in this fight. So, again, they both start throwing punches and kicks while repelling each other, and even exchange kicks. But in one kick, Saw stops to follow it up at a moment when Iguri was off guard. However, Iguri narrowly dodges it and gradually pushes one of the celestial kings of the Windbreaker back. Also, Choji mentions that Saw is one of their top 5 fighters in the Shishitori, so this won't be an easy fight for Iguri. Then, the guy with the glasses mentions that the boy had more fights than anyone else in the group, especially since joining the Shikotan, but the leader emphasizes that he had never seen him talk so much, as he only knew how to say yes or no. Togame confirms this and now understands that Saw has many things to say to Iguri. Meanwhile, the two characters are fighting, and the blonde tells his rival that he's too straightforward and relies too much on brute force, so now he doesn't find him interesting at all. He sends a tremendous blow. Although the Celestial King defends himself, he's still pushed backward, but as Saw remains standing and didn't move from his place, he reproaches his companion that he hasn't made any progress since then. So, with a mocking smile, Gar mentions that he talks much more now than before because when they were kids, he didn't say a word, so he didn't even have to teach him to fight silently so that he wouldn't bite his tongue. Hearing this, Saw takes it as a mockery. So he delivers a combo of 2 blows with a jumping spin and a flying kick, apparently knocking Iguri out of the fight, emphasizing that not only has he not improved, but now he's weaker. Looking at the Windbreaker guys, he tells them that it's their fault for associating with those people whom he sees as a bunch of naive people. Hearing this, Sakura reacts, telling Iguri that it's because of him that they are being underestimated by everyone, and because of this behavior, Suwa apologizes to Saw, mentioning that this young man is just starting to feel like part of the group. These words only make our protagonist blush, explaining that he's only bothered by being made fun of, but their Yumila calms them down, emphasizing that Iguri doesn't just apologize for nothing. He is not only one of the 4 kings of Windbreaker, but also the leader of the famous Taman squad, and he is also known as Bishamontan, who is a martial god of war. As he puts his hand on Sako, he recognizes that it has been a long time since he received a kick like that. Quickly, he throws a tremendous punch, which the opponent narrowly dodges. Although the same cannot be said for the stage, Iguri mentions that he made him look quite bad, and although he hates to admit it, Sako has become very strong. Another person appears, and although he doesn't have enough pills for this, he admits that he enjoys fighting against him. This brings us to a flashback where a young Sako was being bullied, 6 against 1. This is where he met Iguri, who defeated all 6 bullies single-handedly. He tells the bullied boy that if he doesn't speak up, people like them will think they are better than they are. He extends his hand to help him up, and the young Sako asks him to teach him how to fight. He accepts gladly, and young Sako admires Iguri, feeling proud to walk behind him. However, things changed when they were leaving high school one day. Iguri mentioned that if Sako thought like that, it would be better if he didn't come to Furin because he was going to follow someone else. They parted ways without saying much, and years later, Sure and the company found Sako fighting many people alone. They asked him to join Shikotan, where only the strong belong. Although Sako didn't care much, he needed to fight strong people to one day defeat Iguri and make him regret. Back in the present, after an exchange of blows and kicks, Sako shouts at Iguri that unlike him, he kept getting stronger without making friends, and he lunges at him with a feint to attack from behind. However, Iguri repels him with a back kick. Although Sako is exhausted, he yells at his friend not to lose against someone who became subordinate to another, throwing a punch with all his strength. Unfortunately, it is stopped by his rival, who apologizes for not meeting his expectations and finally delivers a blow to the stomach to knock him out, making Sako realize that Iguri has nothing to apologize for. In reality, he knew that on that farewell day, his friend was trying to be considerate with him, and what hurt him the most is the last thing he said, at least to Sako. It didn't matter where Iguri went or who he followed, he just wanted to hear from Iguri's own mouth that he was going with him. So, on the stage, in front of everyone, the unwavering follower finally falls, and this reminds Iguri of the day when Sako promised to follow him forever because he had great faith in him and knew he could reach the top. He would always repeat that he would follow him when he achieved it, and even after that. Obviously, hearing that from a friend made Iguri very happy, unlike now, where he has a completely serious expression. Despite Togame calling 2 students to pick up the knocked out Sako, and Gary still carried him and told the student with glasses that he would take care of it, he delicately placed him in a safe place out of respect for the years of friendship they had. But as the dangerous guy approached, he mentioned that Iguri didn't need to be so careful and grabbed him by the yellow jacket. Immediately, Iguri stopped him because he knows that guy has no good intentions. He also mentioned that he can decide what to do with Sako after his fight with Sakura ends, while firmly pressing the wrist of the dangerous guy, who quickly broke free from the grip. So Iguri stood up and told Togame that he doesn't believe that's how a team can be strengthened, but Togame doesn't care. Passing by Suo and the blonde guy, they compliment him, while Sakura only says he's decent but too arrogant. As he calmly reaches the side of Mima, who comments on his scary spinning kicks, Iguri, all serious, asks if he really wants to talk about that. Mima realizes he's right, so the albino tells him that whenever he wants to talk about it, he should, as it would be more enjoyable to listen. With this, Iguri changes his expression from serious to happy and just replies, "Okay, nothing."